You have exactly 3 meals before your neighbor turns violent. That's not a metaphor. DHS studies show that in a prolonged blackout, civil behavior collapses in 72 hours or less. Not in war zones, right here in the U.S. Looting begins within hours. Police are overwhelmed in a day. And by day 3, 1 in 4 Americans admits they'd steal to survive. Your door, your supplies, your family. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to show you what gets stolen first and how to disappear from the looter's radar. Because when the grid goes down, you're not in America anymore. You're in survival territory. And survival has new rules. Let's start at number 10. Prescription medications and medical gear. Within the first 48 hours of a national-scale blackout, your neighbor's insulin, your uncle's blood pressure meds, your grandma's heart pills, gone. Not because they took them all, because looters will. And I'm not talking about random junkies kicking in doors for a fix. I mean semi-organized groups, former patients, even desperate parents going door to door asking, then taking what they need to keep someone alive. And guess where they go first? The homes that look stable. Clean yards, closed blinds, maybe a little solar panel or backup power flicker. If you're still standing after day 3, you've painted a bullseye on your house for anyone running out of meds. The U.S. medical system is built on daily restocking. According to the Healthcare Distribution Alliance, most pharmacies receive shipments daily, and over 93% of U.S. hospitals operate on less than a week's supply of key medications. You cut that chain, say a regional EMP or a grid-down collapse, and you're not just out of stock, you're out of time. And it's not just pills. We're talking blood sugar testers, CPAP machines, nebulizers, EpiPens, wound care kits, surgical gloves, lidocaine gel, tourniquets. These things become medical gold. After Hurricane Maria, rural Puerto Rico saw black market prices for antibiotics hit $30 per pill. And in Katrina's aftermath, people were trading insulin for gasoline. So how do you protect this stuff? First, diversify your storage. Don't keep everything in a bathroom cabinet. That's Raider default. I've got one cache under the kitchen sink labeled ant traps and pesticides, another in an old tackle box, and a third in a waterproof pouch behind my water heater. Second, disguise and rotate. You want to make expired-looking bottles visible, while the good stuff goes in containers marked with non-medical labels. Third, and this is crucial, don't hoard visibly. If people even think you're sitting on meds, you're not a neighbor anymore, you're a pharmacy. And pharmacies get hit first. One final tip, back up prescriptions digitally. Encrypted USB hidden in a flashlight, because when it's time to flee, you'll need proof to convince any medic or checkpoint who you are and what you need to stay alive. Number 9. Tools, hand cranks, and manual equipment. Most Americans have no clue how naked they are without electricity. Flip the breaker off in 99% of homes and everything just stops. No blender, no can opener, no garage door, no HVAC, no saws, no drills. And that's when the real panic starts. Not because things don't work, but because people realize they don't own anything that does. And guess what becomes the next looter jackpot after food and fuel? Tools. But not just any tools, manual ones. Hand crank flashlights, non-electric grinders, manual can openers, old-school hammers, batteryless radios, crowbars, hatchets, pry bars. Think about it. In a blackout, every single barrier becomes a problem. Locked cabinet? You'll need a crowbar. Jammed door? You'll need a pry tool. Want to fix a broken pipe, build a fire shelter, secure a boarded window? You're going to need tools, and every looter knows it. During Hurricane Sandy, Ace Hardware stores in Manhattan were wiped clean of hand tools within hours. In some cases, looters took more tools than food. Why? Because food gets eaten once. But tools let you take everything else. And once the blackout stretches past day 5, the real players, former contractors, scavengers, even volunteer groups, start moving. And they'll take anything that helps them get inside your house or secure theirs. I knew a guy in California who had his garage looted during the 2020 wildfires, not for valuables, but for his toolkit. $800 worth of screwdrivers, bolt cutters, crowbars, and wrenches gone. His home didn't burn, but he couldn't secure it either. So what's your move? First, hide your real tools. That fancy Milwaukee drill kit? Don't leave it in the garage. Wrap it in insulation and stash it in the attic or under the stairs. Second, disguise utility tools. I keep my crowbar inside a dirty broom handle with a hollow core. My hatchet's hidden in a fake vacuum cleaner shell. Third, decoy stash. Leave a few broken or rusty tools in the garage to make it look like you were already hit. Don't forget your solar hand cranks either. If it generates power, opens food, or helps fix something, it's lootable. And in a dead grid world, the guy with the tools isn't just fixing things, he's running things. Number 8. Fire extinguishers and fire suppression gear. What happens when the fire starts? In a blackout where there's no power, no emergency services, and no water pressure and hydrants, every small fire becomes a potential inferno. Candles tip. Gas leaks. People start cooking indoors with propane stoves. Battery packs overheat. You think it's rare? During the 2021 Texas freeze, over 300 house fires were reported in the first 3 days, mostly from people trying to stay warm. And what did those homes all have in common? No power and no fire suppression. Which brings us to number 8. Fire extinguishers, buckets of sand, fire blankets, even baking soda. These will vanish faster than bottled water because most Americans have zero backup for fire control. Looters aren't dumb. Once desperation sets in, they're going to take whatever gives them leverage. And putting out a fire, or starting one, is leverage. Got a CO2 extinguisher? That's not just for safety. It's a weapon. Canisters like those are used to force people out of buildings, smoke out basements, or destroy evidence. In a blackout, a single spark could wipe out a block. That's why looters prioritize fire control gear early on, especially when they start cooking in tight spaces with makeshift stoves or hoarding flammable supplies like kerosene and alcohol. But here's what most people don't realize. Fire itself becomes a threat vector. I've heard of gangs threatening homes with arson unless they're given supplies. No police, no fire trucks, just you, a Molotov cocktail, and whatever you can throw at it. So if your gear's visible, it's gone. Here's the game plan. First, hide your extinguishers in places looters won't check. Attic access panels, behind drywall cutouts, even in hollowed-out floor speakers. Second, keep a burn bag stash visible with expired or small fire kits. Half-used spray cans, broken hoses. Let them take it and think they scored. Third, diversify. I keep sand in 5-gallon buckets painted like paint storage. I stash baking soda in old flour tins. And my fire blankets? Folded up in a board game box next to Monopoly. In a lawless blackout, whoever controls fire controls fear. So don't just prepare for the blaze, prepare for the people who want it to spread. Number 7. Gasoline, diesel, and fuel transfer gear. You're not going anywhere without it. And the moment the grid collapses, fuel becomes liquid gold. Not because people want to take joyrides, because fuel runs everything that still works. Your generator, dead without gas. Your bug-out vehicle, just a lawn ornament without diesel. Your chainsaw, your propane fridge, your emergency heater, they all sip fuel like it's oxygen. And guess who notices that? Looters. Not just random looters. I'm talking about coordinated fuel thieves who will siphon your tank in the middle of the night, who know how to spot a siphon-proof cap, and who don't care. During Hurricane Harvey, gas stations in Houston were bone dry in 24 hours. A full 42% of pumps were offline, according to Gas Buddy. In New Orleans, post-Katrina, people were trading 5-gallon jugs of gasoline for entire boxes of MREs. And here's what should scare you. Looters didn't just take gas, they took the means to move it. Siphon kits, jerry cans, transfer pumps, even hoses. In California during the 2020 blackouts, CHP had to start patrolling neighborhoods, not for looters with crowbars, but for people rolling around with empty tanks and rubber hoses. You need to understand, Fuel isn't just a commodity, it's a strategic asset. It lets people move, generate, power, transport supplies, flee, or, yes, attack. And the second the blackout drags past day 3, people will start stealing not just what's in your tank, but anything that helps them get it. So how do you defend your stash? First, stop storing your gas in those bright red cans. They scream, valuable. I use fake paint buckets with sealed liners. I bury diesel tanks underground marked with nothing but a rock. And for my portable supply, hidden in plain sight, 5-gallon cat litter containers, cleaned, sealed, odor-proof. Second, lock your vehicle gas caps, then camouflage the locks. Don't use shiny new covers. Use scratched, faded OEM caps that look broken or empty. Third, your fuel transfer gear, hide it hard. My manual pump's inside a fake vacuum cleaner shell. My siphon tubes are rolled inside a collapsed garden hose. Because here's the thing. If someone sees you have the means to move fuel, even if you're empty today, they'll come back, when you least expect it. In America, in the dark, fuel equals power, and power draws predators. Number 6. Baby supplies and infant essentials. This one stings, and it's going to get dark fast. You want to see a peaceful suburban mom turn into a survivalist overnight? Take away her baby's formula. Take her diapers. Take her Pedialyte, her wipes, her baby Tylenol, and you'll watch the breakdown of the last shred of civility in a blackout. Now picture that playing out on a national scale. You think looters are only after electronics and guns? You're dead wrong. They're after helplessness. And nothing is more vulnerable or more leveraged than an infant. During the 2022 baby formula shortage in the U.S., prices for powdered formula on eBay reached $300 per canister. That wasn't in a collapse. That was just from disrupted supply chains. Now imagine a total blackout. No trucks, no refrigeration, no deliveries. Your average family goes from concerned to desperate in 36 hours flat. And looters? They know it. Every abandoned Target, CVS, and supermarket with baby aisles was one of the first to be ransacked in Portland during the George Floyd riots in 2020. Not for TVs, for diapers. Let me hit you with another stat. Only 25% of American households with infants keep more than a 5-day supply of formula or diapers on hand. That means within a week, you'll have 75% of the country's parents looking for baby supplies, and some of them will not ask nicely. If you've got a baby, or even look like you might, you've painted a target on your back, because you're assumed to have what they need. So how do you guard it? First, diversify your storage. Diapers don't all have to go in the nursery. I keep emergency baby wipes in vacuum-sealed bags under my bed and powdered formula sealed in Mylar inside cereal boxes. Second, make decoy stashes. Leave a few damaged or open packs visible in the bathroom. Let them think they got your last supply. Third, prepare your own. Learn to make oral rehydration solutions. Understand cloth diapering, yes, even if you've never done it. And know this. The second someone hears a baby cry in a blackout, it triggers a survival instinct. Not compassion, opportunity. Hide your baby supplies like you hide your ammo. Because in Collapse America, if they can't take your baby, they'll take everything that keeps them alive. Number 5. Pet food and animal care supplies. It's the blind spot in every single prep plan, and looters know it. You've got beans. You've got bullets. You've got bottled water. But what does your dog have? What about your cat? Your livestock? You think you're the only one who prepped kibble? Nope. And guess what? Pet owners in a blackout go into panic mode when they realize there's nothing left on the shelves for their animals. That's when looters step in, and they're not always strangers. I've seen neighbors steal bags of dog food off porches like it was gold. And in a country where over 70% of households own at least one pet, that's a massive vulnerability. Pet food gets looted fast because it's compact, calorie-dense, and easy to resell. During Hurricane Katrina, hundreds of pets were abandoned, not because people didn't care, but because they couldn't feed them. Pet shelters were overrun, and by the time FEMA stepped in, the damage was done. In 2023, the avian flu wiped out millions of poultry and disrupted animal feed supply chains for months. Prices skyrocketed. Even chicken feed was being stolen from rural supply stores. Don't think it's limited to pet food either. Kitty litter, leashes, flea meds, rabbit pellets, even dog crates became looting targets after the 2020 California wildfires. You know what that means? If you've got animals, your home is more than just a shelter, it's a stockpile, and looters know it. So how do you protect your four-legged supply chain? First, hide your stash in things that don't smell like animals. I store my kibble in sealed Mylar, inside bins labeled emergency grout. My vet meds in a first aid kit marked expired. My chicken feeds in a barrel that says sandblasting sand. Second, portion and rotate. Don't keep it all in one place. Have a few emergency packs buried in totes under the crawl space, in the attic, even under the floorboards. Third, and this one hurts, train your animals to be silent. A barking dog, a howling cat, a crowing rooster, they don't just give away your location, they announce you're alive and well-fed. That's all a looter needs to hear. And in a hungry, blacked-out America, even a dog biscuit becomes a reason to kick in your door. Number 4. Over-the-counter drugs and first aid supplies. In a long-term blackout, you become your own doctor, and the line between a minor scrape and a life-threatening infection gets razor thin. No emergency room, no urgent care, no CVS on the corner. If you don't have what you need when you need it, you're done. That's why over-the-counter drugs, Advil, Tylenol, Benadryl, Imodium, Dramamine, iodine, peroxide, gauze, tape, superglue, even tweezers get looted faster than electronics. They're small, portable, high demand, and most importantly, immediately useful. After the 2010 Haiti earthquake, it took only 5 days for every pharmacy in Port-au-Prince to be completely stripped, not of prescription meds, but of basic first aid. Even Band-Aids became currency. In Venezuela's 2018 medical collapse, aspirin was traded in individual pills. People with a single bottle of acetaminophen were gatekeeping entire neighborhoods. Now let's bring that back to the U.S. In 2020, during the height of the pandemic panic, Walmart and Walgreens reported a 60% jump in sales of OTC meds. You remember the empty shelves. That was before any blackout. Imagine if the power grid collapses and you slice your hand on broken glass. No stitches, no antibiotics, no antiseptic. You're rolling the dice, and if you've got the supplies, you're a magnet. I don't care if you've got the cleanest garage in the suburbs. If someone thinks you've got Neosporin, they'll take your garage door off with a crowbar. So what do? First, split your kits. Don't keep a giant first aid box in one location. I have micro kits hidden in coffee tins, taped under drawers, even inside hollowed-out books marked Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. No one steals philosophy during looting. Second, rotate your decoys. Leave expired pill bottles, dirty gauze, even half-used saline where it's easy to find. Let the looters think they got your stash. Third, be quiet about your skills. If you're known as the guy who knows first aid, guess what? You're on the target list too. You'll be begged, bribed, or worse. In a blackout, medical supplies become the most violently contested items outside of fuel. And the minute people start getting sick, injured, or infected, they'll start looking for you. Number 3. Communication gear and radios. Most Americans have no clue how fast silence becomes terror. The internet goes down, the phones go dark, the news stops. You're sealed in a vacuum, no outside info, no weather updates, no warnings. And then, rumors take over. And rumors are deadly. That's why communication gear, walkie-talkies, crank radios, ham rigs, CB sets, even old satellite phones, become loot targets the second the lights die. Why? Because information equals power. And in a blackout, if you know what's really going on, you're 3 steps ahead of everyone else. During Hurricane Katrina, only people with crank radios knew where FEMA was setting up supply zones. Everyone else walked into looting zones or got turned around at police barricades. In the California campfire evacuation of 2018, entire towns missed evacuation alerts because the cell towers failed. Dozens died in their homes. Think about that. Dead because they couldn't hear. Now imagine you've got a shortwave radio that picks up emergency frequencies. Maybe even a ham setup you never talk about. You can hear the National Guard movements. You know where the relief drops are happening. That makes you lethal in the eyes of a looter. They don't need to understand how it works. They just know you can talk to someone. And that means resources, connections, power. In Serbia during the NATO bombings of 1999, people with working radios were hunted. Not because they were broadcasting, but because they knew things. That pattern repeats in every major conflict zone. So how do you stay off the radar? First, disguise your gear. My radio is mounted inside a fake DVD player shell. My walkies are painted black and buried in a shoebox marked Christmas lights. I even wrapped one emergency CB antenna in red ribbon and stuffed it in a faux holiday wreath box. Second, don't test your comms in public. That little squawk from a handheld radio can carry for blocks when everything else is silent. Third, and this one's advanced, set up dummy tech. Leave a cheap weather radio out in plain sight. Let it get looted. Your real rig should be protected, silent, concealed, and ready. Because in Collapse America, whoever hears the news first rules the next hour. Number 2. Alcohol, tobacco, and vice supplies. If you think people get desperate for water and meds, wait until the withdrawals start. You've got 35 million smokers in this country. Nearly 15 million alcoholics, millions more who rely on caffeine, sugar, and vape pens to make it through the day. The minute those addictions go cold turkey, civilization starts to crack, and that's when vice supplies become a looter's wet dream. Booze, cigarettes, vape juice, coffee, chew, weed, pills, candy bars, and I'm not just talking about addicts, I'm talking about everyone. People trying to numb the stress, barter for favors, sleep at night, shut their brain off. In a blackout, a single pack of Marlboros becomes a currency. A bottle of whiskey, a diplomatic weapon. In Iraq during the invasion, U.S. troops were offered entire crates of weapons in exchange for cigarettes. In Bosnia, one bottle of vodka was enough to secure a full month of firewood from desperate neighbors. These aren't luxuries, they're leverage. Now apply that here. When Hurricane Sandy shut down New York, local liquor stores were looted within 6 hours. A bodega in Queens lost $30,000 in cigarettes alone. In rural areas, gas stations were hit not for food, but for nicotine. You've got to understand, desperation has layers. And when you remove comfort chemicals, people will do anything to get them back. That includes lying, trading, begging, and eventually stealing. So what's the smart move? First, don't store vice supplies in the kitchen. Everyone raids the pantry. I keep mini liquor bottles in an old spice rack sealed into a wall cavity. My emergency. Coffee stash. Vacuum sealed inside a crate labeled dog food samples. My nicotine patches. Hidden inside a hollowed out router shell buried under wires. Second, stagger your stash. One for use, one for trade, one for deep backup. Third, and this is key, never trade your last vice. Once word gets out you're the guy with the booze, you'll be the most popular person for a day. Then the most targeted for a week. Let me say this straight. When the lights go out, vices take over. And the only thing more dangerous than a looter with a gun is a looter with a craving. Hide it. Lock it. Guard it. Number 1. Guns, ammunition, and anything that can be used as a weapon. Let me level with you because this is where the sugarcoating ends. When a blackout drags past 48 hours and people realize help is not coming, the very first instinct isn't to find food, it's to find firepower. Every major disaster in U.S. history shows the same pattern. The second law enforcement goes dark. Looters don't go looking for bread, they go hunting for weapons. Why? Because in Collapse America, the man with the weapon isn't just safe. He controls access to everyone else's supplies, and looters know it down to the bone. During Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans PD confirmed that over 1,200 firearms were stolen in the first week. Not from gun stores, from homes. When the 2020 riots swept across Minneapolis, Chicago, and Portland, looters didn't target Apple stores first. They hit gun shops and sporting goods stores. In one night alone, over 400 firearms were taken off shelves and into the street. DHS later called it the single largest uncontrolled weapons redistribution event in modern U.S. history. And that was with electricity still running. Now imagine a national grid failure. No alarms, no surveillance, no 911, no police response, nobody to stop a vehicle from backing into your garage door at 3 a.m. Looters won't just take your guns, they'll take magazines, ammo, holsters, cleaning kits, optics, range bags, pepper spray, batons, tasers, pocket knives, machetes, even your damn shovel if it's heavy enough to swing. Because in their minds, if they can't arm themselves, they're prey. And in a lawless blackout, prey doesn't last long. Here's the statistic nobody wants to talk about. 62% of American gun owners store at least one firearm in an obvious location: nightstand drawer, closet shelf, garage safe that's not bolted down. In disasters, that's a neon sign. After the 2011 Joplin tornado, dozens of homes were found gutted, but not for cash, not for jewelry, for weapons. Even empty ammo boxes were taken because looters thought there might be a reload hidden nearby. And here's a darker truth. Bad actors don't just look for weapons. They look for your access to weapons, spare keys to safes, biometric devices, gun cases with broken hinges, boxes labeled hunting gear. If they can't find the gun, they'll take the stuff that unlocks the gun, because they know you'll eventually give up the location if they push hard enough. So how do you protect the one thing that protects you? First, hide vertically, not horizontally. Studies show looters search at shoulder height and below. Your attic rafters, your HVAC return vent, a hollowed-out beam, those spots stay untouched. Second, break your loadout. Never keep ammo and weapons together. A looter will steal a gun even without ammo. But without mags, without bolts, without firing pins, it's a paperweight. Separate the parts, scatter them. Third, kill the obvious gear. Gun safes are loot gold. If you can't bolt it down, it's not a safe, it's a gift basket. Use decoy safes. Put old keys, empty brass, cleaning rags, and worthless junk inside. Let them take the bait. Fourth, hide in junk categories. A rifle in a broken shop vac shell. A 9mm tucked behind insulation. Ammo in a labeled bin called holiday lights. A mag pouch stuffed inside a cereal box. Looters blow right past anything that looks boring. Finally, silence is survival. No showing off guns to neighbors. No range bags sitting in your trunk. No posting pics. You think people forget that stuff? They don't. In a blackout, the list of who probably has weapons becomes the list of who gets targeted first. Because when America goes dark, it's not the hungry people you fear, it's the armed ones.